morning and welcome to Rise and 9, Thursday, January 29th.
Yes, another cold day, and it looks like we're about a week away from maybe seeing 30 degrees, but we're going to get closer.
Not quite above freezing, but I think we will be soon enough.
Yeah, we will be soon enough, and it'll start to feel a lot better outside, but for now, just another cold day.
Right, had to wear the big coat again today.
Yep, but it has been nice to see the sun. At least we had that going for us this week.
I thought yesterday afternoon seemed a little bit warmer. I took Walt out for a walk, and we're like, we'll just walk till we get cold, and we made it 27 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I did. He was fine.
That's pretty good. I wasn't as cold strapping Kinsley into her car seat yesterday, so that's always nice. That's a whole process, when it's freezing outside. So we're getting better.
Made some really good chicken enchiladas and warmed up the whole kitchen with that.
Those are so good. That sounds delicious.
And we got leftovers today, so that's the best part.
Perfect.
Don't have to cook today.
Yeah, we made pasta last night. Also, always have leftovers when it comes to pasta. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a good lunch later, warm inside my house.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever cooked the right amount of pasta, but I like having leftovers, so I guess that is the right amount.
Yeah, one thing you've maybe been doing more, maybe your kids have, is watching more TV, because there's only so much to do when it's freezing cold outside. You have to get kind of creative of keeping busy, but there are some new guidelines when it comes to screen time.
Right, and this is from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and they have always had the a limit for time for kids, but this new one is about what they're looking at.
Yeah, this was really interesting because it's not so much about what we've always heard, is limiting that screen time, but more so about, what they're absorbing and paying attention, talking with them while they're watching TV or looking at screens and kind of gauging their emotions on how they're reacting, when that screen time's taken away or during. So very interesting.
We also heard from a parent in Coggin, and she had an interesting perspective. We spoke with Mackenzie Eden. She has a 2-year-old, 2 8-year-olds, and a 15-year-old, so a wide range of screen needs there.
Yes, with the 15-year-old, of course, she said, it's more lax because he has a cell phone. But she did say that she limits 15 hours a week for her kids, which is a little over 2 hours a day.
Maybe more on the weekends.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of a balance. But yeah, I do think it's so hard as a parent to figure out what the right answer is, in terms of how much you want to let your kid watch or be on their screen if they maybe have a tablet or a phone as well. So yeah, very tough. And probably only gets tougher as they're older and do have more access to technology.
And you want to give them that independence, so they're making good decisions. But this parent said that any more than that, they get cranky and irritable. And she says that she wants them to still be able to be creative and imaginative. And that's what she's seeing with that amount of screen time. I know that's something I've heard from parents, is that anymore when you try to take it away and they'll just have a tantrum and just say, no screens then for a while until we can, manage this.
Yeah, they can get too reliant on it, that's for sure. I know at our house, my kids are very little, so we haven't had to approach, some of the more challenges that maybe come when you have teenagers and have to think about more access. But with them being 5 and 2, we do try to keep a limit, not a set time, but just, try to make sure it's not too often and don't let them, have screens at the dinner table or at restaurants, things like that helps with our kids. But I'm sure it's different kid to kid and with different families.
Yeah, and our reporter who did this, Grace Vance, she also spoke with the director of the Mirakai Institute at Tanager, Emma Harding, and she said, some red flags, like if your kids can't sleep or if they don't want to play, not acting like themselves, that may be a red flag that there's an imbalance with that screen time.
Yeah, and very hard thing to juggle, especially during these winter months. I do think it's harder when the weather's bad. Yeah. Kids love to get outside and play when it's nice out, or they can ride their bike or do other activities, but it is so hard this time of year. But definitely a very interesting study. I know Grace was telling me yesterday when she had talked with this parent that she had said she hadn't heard this study before, but thought, maybe I will start kind of gauging those emotions more. Just something kind of new to think about.
Right, and it's not just for children and families. This is for everyone, too. If you notice yourself, your emotions, can be tied to how much your time you're spending on your screens. And it is hard to stop using it sometimes because you can just scroll unlimited. It's not like you're just watching an episode. You can lose hours that way if you're, you're not really mindful of that time.
Yeah, I had an eye appointment recently, and that's one of the things they ask, how long do you wear your contacts for? I'm like, oh, geez. Well, pretty much whenever I'm awake. But then another question was, how often are you in front of a screen? And I think as adults, a lot of jobs, even our job, we're in front of a screen a lot of the day.
We're on the other side of the screen, but still
on
the
other
screen.
side of the screen, but then on the screen afterwards, we're going through scripts, we're working on stories. And so I think, there's more screen time than you even realize, especially because a lot of times it's just built into your day.
I've caught myself too when I sit down on the stuff, I'm like, I'm going to read read, but I'm going to, just be on my phone for a second. All of a sudden, an hour goes by.
Yeah, or before you know it, you're doing two screens. You've got your TV on, but you're also checking Instagram.
The little one and the big one.
Yeah. So it is a great thing to be mindful of. Obviously, it's always good to maintain connection with people and, not be so reliant on screens.
Exactly. And it also depends on what you're looking at, too. Like if you're talking to a friend or having to do work emails or just doom scrolling.
Yeah, doom scrolling, that can get you really quick. So before you know it, you're populating things that you've talked about through the day are being marketed to, all the things. So yeah, it's definitely really interesting to think about. And I'm so glad Grace did this story because it's so prevalent for people.
Right. And with kids, there's a lot more technology out there than we had growing up. We didn't have phones. They were not as common as they are now. iPads weren't a thing. There was no laptops going home with school.
Yeah. And I know a lot of times kids are, they're using those in school, which is wonderful. In my son's kindergarten class, they all have iPads at the class. We don't have one at home, but I'll still find him coming home and asking for an iPad now. And, I know he's using it for learning, which is wonderful.
It just depends what.
Then I have to explain to him, oh, no, we don't have an iPad yet at home. I'm sure that day will come when he gets older. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a juggle for parents to figure out among the many things, when it comes to social media and how much access you give them and monitoring accounts, all of that.
Yeah, and that's something that's even happening nationwide with social media companies, like how much they're responsible, especially when you consider AI. And it's just, we could talk all day about that, of all the different ways to manage that and the issues that are coming from things like that.
Yeah, and we've had many stories too about the amount of bullying that can happen on screens because you can hide behind your keyboard and kids can bully that way too. So it's just good to be on top of all of that, but just another thing parents to pay attention to.
Yeah, and moving to a different story. This is out in western Iowa in Monona County, not the town of Monona, but out, like I said, western Iowa. A fire at the fairgrounds that the fire chief suspects is arson.
Yeah, this was very sad hearing from them this morning because they are supposed to be hosting a RAGBRAI, supposed to be starting there. And this whole, just looking at the video, so much damage.
Right, this is in the town of Onawa, and it was at their fairgrounds. And you could see in drone video that the fire was so hot and burned that it melted the bleachers. This is a 100-year-old grandstand that, like we said, Onawa is the starting out town for RAGBRAI.
Yeah, and they talked about what a staple that is for the community, to have that grandstand and that fairground. And so to see it like this was very sad. And now they're, going to have to figure out what to do with RAGBRAI coming through.
And this is just one of 3 fires that the chief says is suspicious in that town in just a week. So something I'm sure their investigating state fire marshal is out there looking into as well.
Yeah, something we'll pay attention to for updates.
Right. And then this is a fun story from police. So a Davenport police officer rescued a dog that was tied up to a tree outside on Christmas Day.
Yes, and this really turned into a wonderful Christmas gift for him because he was able to adopt the dog after rescuing it.
Right, and he looked for the owner, had to take the dog to the Scott County Humane Society, and no owner was found. So a few weeks later, he adopted that dog, and this is not actually the first time this has happened for this officer.
Yeah, I thought that was such an interesting tidbit in this story, is that a similar situation has happened to him before. I just think for it to go full circle, for him to complete that rescue, keep checking in on the dog, and then say, you know what, why don't you come home with me?
Yeah, they had a bond. I'm sure they did. When you rescue them, that dog remembers it. He was just a little puppy. He was just a few months old. The officer's name, Doug Scroggins. I'm not sure if I said his name right. And the dog's name is Odin. And the picture was so cute. The dog was in the cone, but he was still trying to give that officer a lick on the face.
And
the officer is so happy.
Yeah, you could just see the connection there, just captured in a photo. So a pretty cool story.
Oh, I love it so much.
And another really neat story we had this morning. I have never seen this before. Blender bikes. So the YMCA in Lamar's had students bicycling. It was powering basically a blender so they could create their own snack. So they were riding bike, rewarded with a smoothie.
Yeah, and they were blending it up themselves. This reminded me of the exercise bike I remember us having growing up. It was like white, and they had that big fan in the middle.
I remember those.
Would go like that.
Yeah, I know. It was so funny, and some of the kids were like, it tastes sour, They had to work for their snack, so maybe you have a new appreciation, but I don't know. I don't know if my kid would eat a smoothie either way.
They said, well, would you rate this 5 stars? And one kid said 1,000, so they liked it.
Yeah, I'm sure it was cool for them to be a part of the process. I know my kids like to get in the kitchen and help me cook, even if it's a mess when they try to crack the eggs and, I'm fishing out the eggshells. But I'm sure just getting that experience to be a part of creating what you're going to eat.
Right.
Pretty cool for the kids.
Or even just being in the garden, just thinking ahead to when it is warmer, seeing those veggies grow from a seed. That can be, I remember I did that when I was growing up. It made me appreciate the veggies a lot more.
Yes, that's a great point. Just kind of seeing your work that you put into it and then getting rewarded, getting to eat it afterwards.
Yeah.
That had to be really fun and a great thing to do when it's so cold outside.
Also practical. So I've been riding the exercise bike more at the gym because it's too cold for me to run. I know you can, but I don't want to.
No.
It'd be great to have a protein shake that I'm blending up the whole time.
Then it's ready for you right after. You don't have to finish your workout and then go make your protein shake.
No, that's fun. And then get some kids some of their energy out too.
Yeah, getting some of that exercise. I know I said I've been letting my kids ride bikes in our basement because it's not finished, so it's concrete floor, and they just love it. It's just anything you can do this time of year.
Yeah, and maybe you'll have to. Oh, I remember when we made ice cream in elementary school with like the Ziploc bag, chocolate milk, and then the ice and the salt around.
Too, yes.
Mine did not turn out. We did not shake it enough.
Yeah,
that takes a lot of commitment.
Shake it. Yeah, but then you get the ice cream afterwards.
Right. Ours didn't taste so good, but I mean, it just was like really cold chocolate milk.
Yeah, it was just all part of the learning,
Maybe they needed it on a bicycle.
There you go. I was going to say, maybe they had some backup ice cream for you after.
Right, yeah.
So you don't have to eat the milky mess.
Eat the gross thing we did make.
Yeah. But really cool stories that you'll want to check out this morning.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for joining us for Rise at 9.
Have a great day.